14 Ancient Stories Teaching, is it truly impossible to escape destiny? From the moment we are born, we face the cycle of birth, aging, illness, and death. In life, whether we are rich or poor, famous or powerful, it seems that no one can defy fate. But is destiny truly unchangeable, or is it the way we live that makes all the difference? Let's listen to these precious lessons left by the wise ones of the past to find peace within. And please share your thoughts with us in the comments. The first story: wise people focus on their own work. In ancient times, the people of Chu used cotton to make armor, but this method had many limitations. A man named Song Tuc Kai thought that if cotton were replaced with rope, the armor would be sturdier, so he advised Chu Quan to make the change. Seeing the logic, Chu Quan agreed. Song Tuc Kai then instructed his family to produce as much rope as possible for this purpose. Before long, envious individuals began to spread rumors that Song Tuc Kai had suggested using rope only because his family specialized in making it, seeking personal gain. Chu Quan, displeased upon hearing this, immediately ordered the use of rope in armor to be stopped. The book La Tis One Thursday comments on this: if rope truly made the armor more durable, what was wrong with Song Tuc Kai's family producing rope? Whether or not he made rope, the point was whether it improved the armor, not what he gained from it. In life, we often see similar situations. Instead of considering whether someone's actions benefit the group, we are quick to suspect they're only looking for personal gain. Out of envy, we focus on others, forgetting our own tasks and goals. Indeed, as the saying goes, we're so busy watching whether the flowers in someone else's garden have bloomed, we let our own garden grow full of weeds. Wise people will always focus on their own work, tending to their own garden before worrying about others. The second story: let things be when they cannot be changed. One day, Tudong Fa was caught in a sudden downpour while on the road. With nothing to shield himself from the rain, passers-by felt pity for this renowned scholar and poet. Raindrops fell through the bamboo leaves, creating a soft, melancholy melody that harmonized with the stillness of the bamboo forest. Most people in his situation would likely feel troubled, but Tudong Fa saw things differently. Instead of seeking shelter, he calmly continued on his way through the rain. Amidst the scene, he remarked, "Why not sing a song and keep moving, listening to the sound of rain falling through the forest leaves?" In these lines, Tudong Fa expressed both acceptance and transcendence of his circumstances. He did not hurry to avoid the rain or struggle against the inconvenience. Instead, he chose freedom in choosing to either hear or ignore the sound of the rain, allowing himself to listen or let it pass without discomfort. For him, the rain was merely part of the outer world. His spirit remained light and untroubled. He playfully jested about his own situation, saying he had no worries with his simple bamboo cane and straw shoes. That was all he had during the rain, but to him, it was a joyful experience. A bamboo cane and straw shoes, lighter than riding a horse, who's afraid of the rain? Tudong Fa saw his humble straw shoes and bamboo cane as enough for his journey, more convenient than riding a horse, a light-hearted remark that helped him feel comfortable and cheerful, even in the rain. When the rain stopped, he looked back at the clear blue sky and felt a deep sense of peace. Smiling softly, he reflected, "Looking back at the desolate scene, now there is no more rain, no more wind. The storm has passed, the sky is clear." From this, Tudong Fa understood, rain or shine, a clear or cloudy sky, all are temporary. He believed that life brings storms, but after every storm, the sky clears again. There is no need for sorrow or concern over what cannot be controlled. In this way, the rain became less of a trial and more of a natural phenomenon for him. Tudong Fa realized that adversity is like rain, sometimes it pours, but it always passes. He would not let external conditions disturb his heart or allow the surroundings to change his state of mind. If one finds themselves in difficulty or hardship, he suggested learning to accept it and finding joy in the present. He said that if one day he faced misfortune or something undesirable, he would remember his attitude in the rain, reminding himself that his spirit could still be free and that external reality cannot control or shake him. In adversity, if one maintains a calm heart, they will feel lighter, without sadness or worry. To Dong Fa's story imparts a profound life philosophy. In life, there are things that cannot be changed. The only thing we can do is let everything be natural. Embrace every change with a gentle and calm attitude, and inner peace will always prevail. The third story, the highest level of wisdom is to follow nature. The ancients often said that living in harmony with nature and not forcing outcomes brings unexpected rewards. In old times, farmers lived according to the rhythm of nature, working when the sun rose and resting when it set. On rainy days, they stayed home to conserve energy, while those passionate about learning used the time to study. This image evokes a peaceful heart and a spirit aligned with nature, in stark contrast to modern life, where people are busy and filled with concerns. For survival, people today have lost their inner peace and often push themselves to work without rest, leading to fatigue, stress, and illness. Many people dislike rainy weather because it disrupts their plans, but rain is essential for the growth of plants and crops. Rain comes according to natural laws, which cannot be changed. So, instead of complaining, I prefer to stroll in the rain, reflect, or stay indoors with a warm cup of tea, reading, or listening to classical music. The source of people's troubles is often the same. We struggle to accept the natural order. A Buddhist story tells of a young monk who became anxious seeing withered grass in the monastery and suggested planting new seeds. But his master advised patience, saying everything should follow nature. When the autumn wind blew away the lighter seeds, the master explained that weak seeds would not grow, so there was no need to worry. When heavy rain washed some seeds away, he reassured him, wherever water takes them, grass will grow there. Over time, the monastery was covered with lush green sprouts, just as the master had predicted by following nature's way. The Tao Te Ching by Laozi states, man follows the earth follows the sky follows the way, and the way follows nature. To follow nature is to live in harmony with the laws of the world. Sometimes, in pursuit of perfection, people exhaust themselves to the point of sleepless nights. But aligning with nature brings peace, like the ancient verse, spring has flowers, autumn has the moon, summer has cool breezes, winter has snow. With no worries in the heart, every season is beautiful. Everything that happens is meant to happen, and everyone who comes into our lives is meant to appear. The only thing we can truly hold onto is a steadfast, kind heart. As they say, blessings come to those who are virtuous. By following nature, we will encounter the best things life has to offer. The fourth story, the origin of the phrase fair trade. Long ago, there was a merchant named Min Tan who was known for his sincerity and honesty in business. He never cheated and always kept his promises to customers. One day, after finishing his day's work, Min Tan was on his way home when he suddenly tripped over something near his gate. Upon closer inspection, he found a shiny silver ingot engraved with the words, "Fair trade, everyone gets a share." Thinking it was a gift from the heavens, Min Tan wondered if he should keep it for himself or share it. He decided to search for a person named Jiao Dike, meaning trade, to split the silver ingot with. Min Tan wandered through various streets, spending months both trading and searching for someone named Jiao Dike. He endured hunger and cold, even in the bitter winter, without touching the silver ingot. One day, exhausted from hunger and cold, he collapsed in front of a restaurant while calling out for Jiao Dike. Coincidentally, the restaurant owner, named Jao Dyke, overheard him and came outside. He brought Min Ton inside, cared for him, warmed him, and poured him tea. When he learned that Min Ton had traveled far just to share the silver ingot, Jao Dyke was deeply moved and said, "It's just a silver ingot. You could keep it for yourself since you found it." But Min Ton replied, "The words on the ingot are very clear. I can't keep it all to myself." Impressed by Min Ton's honesty, Jao Dyke reluctantly agreed to the split after many refusals. Min Ton placed the ingot on a stone and tried to cut it with a knife, but half of the ingot fell into a crack in the stone. Despite injuring his hands in the effort, he couldn't retrieve it. Jao Dyke said, "Half of this is yours. There's no need to try to get it out." Min Ton replied, "No, if you don't get your share, I can't keep mine alone." Finally, they lifted the stone together and discovered 9 jars and 18 containers of gold and silver underneath. Each was engraved with the words, "Fair trade, everyone gets a share." This story quickly spread throughout the town. People not only marveled at the fortune but also celebrated the noble qualities of Min Ton and Jao Dyke. From that point on, merchants began engraving the words "fair trade" on their scales to remind themselves of their duty to uphold integrity in business. This story is not only a tribute to honesty but also a reminder of the importance of ethics and fairness in all transactions. Although society has changed in many ways, this story continues to remind us that honesty and fairness remain the foundation of success and respect from others. The fifth story, Fame and Virtue. Long ago, there were 2 brothers with completely different personalities. The younger brother was content with farming, while the older brother yearned for fame and wealth. When their father passed away, the older brother gathered his savings and went to the city to bribe officials, hoping to buy himself a minor title and gain a reputation. Eventually, he secured a modest rank, the position of Q Pham Van Jai, and returned to the village with pride, planning to invite everyone to celebrate his success. Upon returning home, he saw his younger brother shirtless and working with rice. Embarrassed, he remarked, "You work with your hands and have nothing to show for it. Why not be like me and earn a title to avoid being seen as a commoner?" The younger brother replied, "I understand that having a title would bring pride to the family. But thinking of the time, money, and endless effort spent bowing and scraping for a hollow reputation, I decided it wasn't worth it. I'd rather continue our father's work. It may be hard labor, but it keeps my heart at peace, with no need to depend on anyone." The ancients said that there are only 2 types of people, those who seek fame and those who seek fortune. The older brother spent his savings to buy a small rank, all for a touch of hollow fame. Fame, in itself, isn't negative. Many heroic and righteous figures have left an enduring legacy. However, fame is not something to be pursued. The disciple rule states, "One with high virtue earns genuine respect, honored by others not for appearances. One of talent but no virtue gains little esteem, for admiration cannot be commanded." Those with virtue naturally gain a good reputation without having to promote themselves. Confucius once said, "The virtue of a gentleman is like the wind, the virtue of the people is like grass. When the wind of virtue blows, the grass bends." A true gentleman, through virtue, sets an example for others to follow. When someone once told Confucius that he was a sage with no fame, Confucius replied, "When have I ever pursued fame or fortune? For those with virtue, fame and fortune are but passing clouds." Anyone who makes fame or wealth their life's goal will always be preoccupied and find it difficult to feel at ease. However, those who seek peace and tranquility as their purpose can enjoy serenity and move calmly through life. For those who pursue virtue as their highest aim, even though they endure hardships and diligently cultivate themselves, the end of their path will be radiant with light. The 6th story, the best feng shui in life is a kind heart. Throughout history, many have regarded feng shui as crucial, believing that choosing land with favorable energy can bring lifelong blessings. However, there is something even more important: a kind heart and personal virtue. Literally, feng means wind, shui means water, and feng shui studies the influence of wind direction and water flow on human destiny. But the story of Vong Duong Min offers a different perspective on feng shui. Vong Duong Min, whose real name was Vong Thursday Nan, was a renowned philosopher and politician during the Ming Dynasty. Known for his Xian Shui philosophy, he believed that the heart is the origin of all things, and only by cultivating the heart can society improve and practical issues be resolved. He was a man of both intellect and martial prowess, contributing to both scholarship and battles to protect the country. Near the end of his life, Vong Duong Min chose his burial site in the mountainous retreat of Lanting Xianhe, outside Shaoxing City, Zhejiang. Initially, this land was not considered ideal for feng shui, as two rivers converged there, causing erosion. Many feng shui masters advised him to choose another site, but he insisted on his choice. Later, an elderly man living on the mountain dreamed of a deity saying that the river would revert to its old course. The very next day, heavy rain changed the river's flow, transforming Vong Duong Min's chosen spot into an ideal feng shui location. People praised his great virtue, believing it had touched the heavens and turned the land auspicious. After Vong Duong Min's passing, as his coffin was being transported home, headwinds constantly delayed the boat. One of his students, Tru Yuyan, prayed in front of the coffin, asking heaven and earth to help him reach home. Immediately, the wind changed direction, and within 6 days, the boat arrived in Zhejiang. Everyone marveled at Vong Duong Min's virtue, which seemed to move heaven and earth, both in life and in death. This story illustrates that the best feng shui in life is a kind heart. As the ancients said, without kindness, feng shui is useless; without filial piety, worship is in vain. Feng shui depends entirely on one's virtue, not the other way around. Those who do evil will bring misfortune to even the most blessed locations, while the good will find fortune even in harsh lands. Rather than seeking rare land, live a life of kindness and accumulated virtue. In feng shui, there is a concept of gathered light, the radiance that emanates from a kind heart. Those who live selflessly and with tolerance will have a bright, gentle smile that shines on their face. Conversely, those who engage in wrongdoing, harboring resentment and envy, will gather darkness, appearing gloomy and lacking vitality. People of virtue receive blessings greater than any treasured land. Nurturing a kind heart and cultivating virtue is the best feng shui, carrying it with you and transforming the world around you. This is truly the foundation of feng shui in life. The seventh story: past lives, this life, and destiny. Some say that in past lives, we performed dramas of love and betrayal with others. Even in this life, resentments and relationships are temporary. Today's enemies may become tomorrow's friends. Perhaps destiny is the continuation of feelings from a past life or a promise carried into the next reincarnation. The story of past lives tells of a scholar and his fiancée who vowed to marry on a special day. However, when that day arrived, his fiancée married another man. Heartbroken, the scholar fell gravely ill. At that time, a monk passed by and handed him a mirror, asking him to look into it. In the mirror, he saw a vast ocean. On the shore lay a girl's body, unclothed and lifeless. The first passerby glanced at her and walked away. The second took off his coat and covered her. The third dug a grave and buried her respectfully. The monk explained, "The girl on the shore was your fiancée in a past life. You were the second man who draped a coat over her. In this life, she has loved you to repay that kindness, but her current husband is the one who buried her, and so they are bound together in this lifetime. Awakened by this revelation, the scholar recovered. The saying, 100 years of practice allow you to share a boat, 1,000 years allow you to share a bed, leads many to cling to love. But if the debts of past lives and bonds of this life have been repaid, why not continue on your own journey? The Buddha once said, the one who buried you in a past life will naturally meet you again. When you love, cherish it, for it may be someone bound to you from a past life. Those you love bring warmth and strength, while those you dislike teach tolerance and patience. Each person appears in your life for a reason and deserves appreciation. So, embrace them with joy and acceptance. Life is like a one-way ticket, with no rehearsal. Every moment is live, and every encounter is destiny. In this brief life and vast sea of people, the fact that you and I can meet is destiny indeed. The eighth story, the lotus amidst the mud. In ancient Japan, society was rigidly divided by class. The nobility looked down on peasants, who were often treated as the lowest of the low. Even if a peasant wished to become a monk, they were generally not accepted. There was a young peasant boy named Votam, who yearned for enlightenment and spiritual practice. Hiding his background, he joined a temple where he devoted himself to his studies, cultivating virtue, and earning the respect of those around him. Eventually, due to his character and profound knowledge, he was chosen to be the temple's abbot. During the abbot appointment ceremony, as the dignified ritual unfolded, a man suddenly stepped forward from the main hall, pointed at Votam, and sneered, "How can a monk from the peasant class be made an abbot? Such a thing is unacceptable." His words left everyone stunned. No one knew how to respond, and the silence was so heavy it felt like the smallest sound could be heard. In this tense atmosphere, Votam remained calm, offering a gentle smile as he replied, "A lotus amidst the mud." This short yet profound response left everyone in awe. The lotus rises from the mud yet retains its elegance and purity, just as someone from a humble background can cultivate themselves to embody virtue and nobility. The man who had objected was left speechless, with no choice but to bow in admiration. Following this, the ceremony continued successfully. Knowing Votam's true origins only increased everyone's respect for him. To them, he was not only an abbot but also a symbol of perseverance and virtue. Votam's story shows us that one's background or circumstances do not determine a person's character. Like a lotus rising from muddy water yet remaining pure, a person can transcend their conditions to become the best version of themselves. True nobility lies in self-cultivation, unbound by ambition or societal prejudice. Throughout history, many saints and virtuous individuals have sought truth and divine principles, using them to refine themselves. It is the purity of the heart that enables a person to rise above all obstacles and attain a peaceful and meaningful life. The ninth story, love that isn't worth a penny, why hold on? Long ago, in the state of Zhang, there was a man named Li Tu who lived in poverty and often faced hunger. Seeing his situation, someone told King Tu Duong, "Li Tu is a noble man, and yet he suffers in your kingdom. Doesn't this mean you do not value the talented?" Hearing this, King Tu Duong sent an envoy to give Li Tu several cartloads of grain. Li Tu thanked the envoy but declined the gift. After the envoy left, Li Tu's wife, upset, said, "I've heard that the families of virtuous men live in comfort and happiness. But here you are, poor and hungry, and when the king offers help, you refuse. Isn't this just inviting hardship upon us?" Li Tu laughed and replied, "The king didn't send this gift out of his own desire, it was because someone spoke to him. If someone else speaks ill of me later, the king might just as easily punish me. That's why I refuse it." Similarly, People's affections aren't always for who you truly are. They may like you for your appearance, wealth, status, or simply because it's convenient at the time. If people love you for your appearance, that love fades as beauty fades. If they love you for your wealth, that affection vanishes when wealth disappears. If they care for your status, then when fortunes change, so does that affection. Affection based on such superficial things dissolves when circumstances shift, because it isn't genuine love from the heart but a fleeting display that can disappear at any moment. In short, if someone loves you only for external reasons, that love is separated by a glass barrier. This kind of affection isn't something to celebrate, nor is it worth holding on to or mourning when it fades. The 10th story, virtue turns misfortune into blessing. During the early years of the Ming Dynasty under Emperor Jingde, there was a merchant named Lam Tian in Henan County. Although he was already 40, he had no children. On a business trip to Nanjing, Lam Tian met a well-known fortune teller famous for his accurate predictions of blessings and misfortunes. Upon seeing Lam Tian, the fortune teller shook his head and asked, "You don't have children, do you?" Surprised, Lam Tian confirmed this. The fortune teller continued, "Not only that, but you will face a great disaster this October." Believing in the fortune teller's words, Lam Tian gathered his assets and returned home. It was the rainy season, and the river's high waters prevented boats from continuing, so Lam Tian had to stay at a riverside inn. The next morning, while walking along the riverbank, he suddenly saw a woman jumping into the river in an attempt to end her life. He immediately shouted that he would reward anyone who could save her with 20 taels of silver. A nearby boat quickly reached the woman, rescuing her and bringing her safely ashore. Keeping his word, Lam Tian paid the boatman. The woman, now safe, explained that her husband was working far from home. She had sold a pig they had raised to pay off debts, but the buyer tricked her with counterfeit silver. Fearing her husband's anger when he returned, she had tried to end her life. Moved by her story, Lam Tian gave her twice the amount she had lost. That night, the woman and her husband came to the inn to thank Lam Tian. When they knocked on his door, Lam Tian hesitated to meet them because it was late and, as a man from afar, he found it inappropriate. However, when he learned that both the woman and her husband were there, he came outside. Just then, the wall of his room collapsed from the days of heavy rain. Had he stayed in the room a moment longer, he would have been in grave danger. After the rainy season, Lam Tian met the fortune teller again. At first sight, the fortune teller was astonished, remarking that Lam Tian's aura had drastically changed, undoubtedly due to his virtuous act. Indeed, Lam Tian went on to enjoy great blessings. His wife bore him 3 children, 2 of whom went on to achieve high ranks, and Lam Tian himself lived a long life to the age of 98. The ancients greatly valued fate and encouraged acts of kindness to accumulate blessings. In today's modern society, many have lost faith in the notion of good being rewarded and evil punished, preoccupied instead with endless competition. Yet, rather than struggling to get ahead, living virtuously and cultivating one's moral character ultimately brings the protection and blessings of fortune. The 11th story, when will we truly rest in this life? Kong Tu once said, "It doesn't matter how slowly you go, as long as you don't stop." No matter how difficult life may be, keep moving forward and keep improving yourself. That is the journey of a lifetime. There is a story in which Tu Tsong once asked Kong Tu, "Master, after studying the way for so long, I feel so weary, with no time to rest. May I take a break?" Kong Tu replied, "The way of a subject requires constant diligence in fulfilling one's duties. How can there be rest? Would you rest to show filial piety to your parents? The way of a child is to honor and move others by example, which is also difficult to pause. Rest to enjoy time with your wife and children, perhaps. But the way of a husband and father is to set a good example for family and society. This, too, is hard to rest from. Toot Song then asked, "Then may I rest in friendship?" Kong Tu responded, "To treat friends sincerely is also no small task. How can one rest from this? And resting to work the land?" Kong Tu continued, "Farming is exhausting, labor-intensive work that leaves little time to rest." In exasperation, Toot Song said, "Then does this mean I will never get to rest?" Kong Tu laughed and replied, "Oh, you will. When you see the grave well dug, the mound firmly built, and loved ones gathered in farewell, that will be the time to rest." Hearing this, Toot Song pondered deeply and exclaimed, "Then death is good, isn't it? The noble rest only then, and the small-minded stop only then. Indeed, death is good. Life is a journey where, by following principles and discipline, we find the path is long and the goal ever higher. If we lack resolve and give up easily in hardship, we achieve little." According to Confucius, the virtues of Ren, benevolence, E, righteousness, Li, propriety, Ji, wisdom, and Xin, integrity, are the pillars of a meaningful life. Ren is kindness, E is duty, Li is respect, Ji is understanding gained through learning, and Xin is sincerity. Abandoning these principles leaves us as hollow shells wandering through life. In this life, whether in service to the king, as children to parents, or as spouses or friends, we must fulfill our obligations wholeheartedly. In any profession, we must be diligent and responsible in our duties. Thus, we must live in a way that honors these values, allowing us to live fully and contribute meaningfully to the world. As Kong Tu said, "It doesn't matter how slowly you go, as long as you don't stop." Continual self-improvement and forward progress are the true meanings of life. The 12th story, gains and losses, farewells and reunions. In this world, people often suffer from joy and sorrow over gains and losses because they do not understand life's deeper patterns. We want to gain without giving, to receive without losing, yet both bring their own sorrows. We worry about keeping what we gain, and we feel deprived when we lose. Once, an old man lived near the Yinmen Pass, on the border between China and Hu. He owned a beautiful horse. One day, his horse ran away. Neighbors came to console him, but the old man said, "Losing a horse, who knows? It might be a blessing." Indeed, a few months later, the horse returned, bringing with it a fine steed. The neighbors came to celebrate, but the old man again said, "Gaining a horse, who knows? It might be a misfortune." As it turned out, his son broke his leg riding the wild horse. The neighbors once again offered their sympathy, and again the old man said, "My son's broken leg, who knows? It might be a blessing." Soon after, a war broke out, and all the young men were called to fight. Many perished, but his son, being lame, was spared. Father and son were able to live together peacefully. This tale became the proverb Sai Wang Shirma, "The old man of the frontier loses a horse," meaning that blessings and misfortunes are unpredictable. Good fortune may conceal harm, and hardship may carry hidden blessings. A similar story tells of a farmer who found a pheasant trapped in the drying grass outside his yard. Thinking that leaving the grass there would trap more pheasants, he checked the spot the next day. Hearing a familiar chirp, he joyfully turned over the grass, but was bitten by a venomous snake and died. Blessings and misfortunes come unexpectedly and can rarely be foreseen. In Buddhist teachings, gain and loss are outcomes of karma and causation. Those who speak honestly, act kindly, stay humble, and show tolerance are more likely to attract good fortune and build a foundation of blessing. Conversely, those who selfishly lie, deceive, or harm others will ultimately face retribution. Some question why kind people don't always receive blessings immediately. Buddhism explains that karmic outcomes may unfold slowly or across lifetimes. A person who harms others without immediate consequence may still be shielded by accumulated good karma, but if they continue to act harmfully, their negative deeds will eventually lead to suffering. Human life is a long sequence of debts and repayments. Gains and losses are not random but determined by the balance of karma and fate. When we see others gain wealth or power, we often say they are blessed by the virtue of past generations, reminding us of karma's law. Because people do not fully understand gain and loss, they rejoice at gain and grieve at loss. Desiring to gain also means accepting the potential for loss. Both bring hardship and, therefore, greater unrest. Those who understand life's impermanence view gain and loss as passing clouds, living calmly and at peace. The ancient saying, "Virtue provides endless bounty," is echoed by those who walk the path of self-cultivation, seeking fulfillment and noble virtue as their ultimate destiny. The 13th story, Planning War on Paper. Long ago, in the state of Jin, there was a general named Tai Quan who was well versed in military theory but lacked combat experience. In a battle against the state of Qin, he was given command by the king of Jin, replacing the seasoned General Tran Fong. However, Tai Quan's parents were worried and tried to persuade the king that he was unfit for command. His father said, "War is a serious matter that requires not only theory but also courage and caution." Confident in his theoretical knowledge of military strategy, Tai Quan believed he could defeat the Qin forces. As soon as the battle began, he ordered an aggressive attack with no defense. Initially, the Qin army pretended to retreat, making Tai Quan believe he had the upper hand. But soon after, Qin's General Bakungwen launched a surprise counterattack, surrounding the Jin forces and cutting off their supplies. Tai Quan attempted a retreat, but the Jin forces were divided, with food supplies dwindling and no reinforcements in sight. After resisting for 46 days within the siege, Tai Quan's army was exhausted and ultimately met a disastrous defeat. In the final battle, he died under a hail of arrows, and the Jin army was buried under a landslide from the mountain peak. Following this defeat, the state of Jin weakened, and the phrase "planning war on paper" became a proverb to describe those who understand theory but lack the ability to apply it in practice. Tai Quan's parents were right in recognizing his lack of caution, and generations since have taken this story as a reminder. Strategy requires not only knowledge but also experience and careful judgment. The 14th story, Fate Cannot Be Escaped. A family lived in Qinghe, in the Shandong region, where they ran a small inn known for a tragic event that the locals would never forget. One day, a woman arrived at the inn with her young son and stayed for over a month without ever going outside. Then, one summer day, it suddenly rained heavily. Near the inn, there was a small pit about half a meter deep that filled with rainwater. The next day, while the mother was not watching, her young son went out to play, accidentally fell into the pit, and drowned. In her grief, the mother explained that a fortune teller had warned her that her son would face a fatal water-related accident. Determined to protect him, she left her home, and upon reaching Qinghe, saw that the inn was on high ground with no rivers or lakes nearby. Feeling secure, she decided to stay there. However, despite all her efforts to avoid disaster, fate had still found its way. This story offers a poignant lesson about the fragility and unpredictability of fate. Although the mother tried everything within her power to shield her son, even seeking the safest possible place, destiny still intervened. It reminds us that there are aspects of life beyond our control that we cannot fully evade. The story also encourages us to live without being consumed by fear or attempting to outrun fate. Instead, we should face life with resilience, accepting that some events are unpredictable. Often, the best way to welcome whatever the future holds is to cherish the present, living well and loving those around us wholeheartedly. If you find it useful, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel to continue exploring meaningful lessons with us. See you in the next video. Wish you always stay strong and achieve the goals you always desire. Goodbye and see you again.